things for this team, not just in the long run, but maybe in the short. I think they will be a fringe playoff team at the end of this season.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app. Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Why have I deviated from Pop-Tarts?
I don't know.
These
They're
are
so good.
so good, and they hit every single time.
It got to the point my parents stopped buying them because we'd run out of them so quickly, because we would have them not just for breakfast, but we would have them as a snack when we got home from
Totally.
school. We'd have them all the time.
Yes.
And we just ran out so quickly, they're just like, no, we can't buy any more.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. This is Freddie and Harry.
I feel like more so than any year, this is the year that Kansas City needs the number one seed the most because of how bad their offensive tackles are. And the reason why I bring that up, when you have to go on the road and play, the offense has to deal with what? Crowd noise. When the offensive tackles are at home, they're more so at an advantage because they can hear the quarterback. They can hear the snap count. When you're on the road, you can't hear it, baby.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
You have cancer. There's nothing you can do to prepare yourself.
Round 1 of chemotherapy. I'm gonna fight it. I'm gonna survive. There's no way I'm gonna let this take over me.
Cancer doesn't care what you look like, who you are.
It may not save my life. It may save my children's life. It may save someone you love.
You ready to get this cancer about you? Let's do it.
Live. Fight like hell. And when you get too tired to fight, let somebody else fight for you.
Because of all the donations, mine is one of the lives that's been saved.
Never give up!
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Visit v.org/donate.
College Football Playoff Preview Show on ESPN Radio.
This is your College Football Playoff Preview Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance alongside former NFL running back Rashad Jennings. I'm Jonathan Zaslow. Coming up, New Year's Eve, December 31st. The first time ever, 12-team college football playoff. It continues with our quarterfinals, and it'll be the Fiesta Bowl. That will be on Tuesday night, New Year's Eve, and then New Year's Day. We got 3 more games, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and you can hear the action for all 4 of those games right here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. At GNC, they're not waiting on the sidelines. Let them help you build more muscle, lose weight, or hit your wellness goals. Fuel your fitness at GNC.
The College Football Playoff Preview Show.
This is why you came here. The whole nation will be watching.
Oh, my!
This is GNC Building a Winner.
Ryan Day and Ohio State, right from the get-go in Columbus, they crushed Tennessee. It was a 42-17 win in the first ever home college football playoff game for the Buckeyes. Here's Ryan Day, Ohio State head coach, on that performance.
I'm proud of our seniors for a lot of reasons. One, for the fact that they were able to finish their last game at Ohio Stadium with a win like that, and I'm also proud of the way that they responded. I told them in the locker room that, in life, you're going to be defined by the way you handle adversity in life, as a person, as a man, as a dad. And so, to see the way that they responded in this game, you can tell from the jump that they had a look in their eye that they were going to go win this game.
Now, Rashad, Ohio State crushed Tennessee. And that's a really good win. I mean, obviously, we're talking Tennessee. That's a big-time SEC team. But let's not pretend like the pressure's off. You know, Ryan Day still lost to Michigan, still didn't even get to appear in the Big Ten championship. It's great that they won a college football playoff game, but now they go to the Rose Bowl, and it's almost like, hey, the real work begins.
Absolutely. And when you have one of the best rosters in all of college football and you're at Ohio State and your name is Ryan Day and you look at your history, there's a high expectation. And so there, you know, no knock, Tennessee, I think had the best chance to win out of all the potential upsets of yesterday. However, Ohio State handled themselves very well. Now is on to the next. High expectations for you, especially because you lost to Michigan. It's still that stint.
Well, Ryan Day and Ohio State, they're certainly not waiting on the sidelines looking to build a winner, and that, of course, is courtesy of GNC. He's Rashad Jennings. I'm Jonathan Zaslow. So in the Fiesta Bowl, you have number 3 Boise State, which will play their first ever college football playoff game in the 12-team format. And in the Peach Bowl, you have the Big 12 championship winner, that being the number 4 seed Arizona State. Do those two teams, Rashad, Boise State, Arizona State, do they need to win a college football playoff game to validate the season they've had?
They don't need to. They want to exponentially put a exclamation mark on their great heroic seasons. First time college football playoffs, the Big 12 conference championship goes to Arizona State, leading them to a bye. Nobody saw that at the beginning of the season. The Mountain West conference championship, Boise State. Now, we could have saw them leading it and winning the conference. However, getting a first-round bye in the new 12 playoff college system.
Hey, some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Visit allstate.com or call a local agent for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
One-handed leaping interception at the 3-yard line.
What are we watching in the college football playoffs?
Watch and learn.
Watch and learn.
Are you kidding me?
This is the Allstate Player Check-In.
All right, let's do it, Rashad. Coming up, we'll have the quarterfinals of your 12-team college football playoff. This is your college football playoff preview show. He's Rashad Jennings. I'm Jonathan Zaslow. So let's do a little game predictions here. We get things started New Year's Eve, the Fiesta Bowl. It's Penn State and Boise State, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. You could also hear all the action on ESPN Radio as Mike Cousins and Max Starks have your call. Penn State coming off of a win over SMU. They crushed the Mustangs. Boise State well rested. What do we expect, Rashad?
I expect run. I think this might be one of the quickest games as far as television is concerned because we're going to see both teams run the football a lot. And I think the lead goes to Boise State. I think Boise State has a uphill battle, clearly going against the Mountaineers' defensive front. But Boise State's running back and their system and scheme is phenomenal. Give me the runner-up for Heisman to come out on top, Boise State.
Boise State's only loss this year is at Oregon. So we'll all be able to focus on the Fiesta Bowl. We'll go to sleep. We will wake up on New Year's Day with a triple header of college football playoff action beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Radio. The Peach Bowl featuring Texas coming off of a win over Clemson at home. College football playoff home game. They take on the Big 12 champion Arizona State, who won their final 6 games of the season, including the Big 12 championship. What are we expecting, Rashad?
What I expect right here is a lot of great defense by Texas. I mean, they got one of the top 3 defenses in all of college football right now. And they're finding themselves on offense a lot, Zaz. A lot of offenses coming out of the Texans' offensive side of the ball right now. But Arizona State, I think they got Scatterboo, who's just breaking everybody's tackles. Listen, offensive coordinators over there, Arizona State, they draw up a play and they say, hey, look, Scatterboo, you get the ball, go right, make him miss, and score. That's their strategy right now. Can that happen against Texas? I don't see it. I do not see it, but if they can get that ground game going in Arizona State, I think it could be trouble for Texas. But
Anish Shroff and Andre Ware will have your call right here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. New Year's Day, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, we're talking about the Rose Bowl, Ohio State, Oregon. The Ducks have not lost a single game this year. Mark Kestisher and Kelly Stopper on the call on ESPN Radio. Who you got, Rashad?
This is a good one, man. You know what? I'm a toss up. I think it could go either way. I think it's whoever scored first, honestly, in this type of atmosphere.
You can catch all the lines for all of these games on ESPN Bet. And finishing out the quarterfinals of the 12-team college football playoff, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, January 1st. It's Notre Dame and Georgia, the Sugar Bowl. Tom Hart and Jordan Rogers on the call right here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. For me, Rashad, this is the one, and it's apropos that it's the final game. This is the one that I'm looking forward to most.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. And Georgia's obviously been playing well. I think they're going to be playing even better now that they don't have their quarterback in Carson Beck. They have to lean on the rest of their team. Notre Dame's been playing outstanding ever since they took that loss. Unfortunate for them. They had a chance to go to undefeated this year. But I like Notre Dame in this one, man. I like Notre Dame big time in this one because of their offense.
And that is the Sugar Bowl, 8:45 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and right here on ESPN Radio. Those are our 4 college football playoff quarterfinal matchups. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Round out your protection with life, phone, and pet health insurance. Rashad will do this again when we have the semifinals set in the college football playoff. You've been listening to the college football playoff preview show right here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike, and I just wanted to wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday and a happy new year. And a reminder to tune into Unsportsmanlike every weekday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 1-800-983-6530. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-983-6530 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 1-800-983-6530 right now to schedule your vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-983-6530 now. This advertisement is paid for by Heritage for the Blind.
This is Freddie and Harry.
Jeff in Cleveland.
Man, y'all guys, man, I swear, man, it is amazing, man, how much y'all guys love and much joy y'all bring to people. Harry Douglas, you's a maniac. You said a PP man. Harry, you a fool, man. You said a PP man. Stand up. Man, y'all guys, man, I swear, y'all the best in the world.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Evan, Canty, and Michelle are Un's 5 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Touchdown! The electricity, the atmosphere.
Caught at the 5 and into the end zone! This is why you do what you do.
Bowl season continues Monday with a Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. Coverage begins at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN.
It's the beauty of college football.
The last Monday Night Football of 2024 is upon us. Jared Goff and the Lions are out for redemption as they head to San Francisco for an NFC Championship rematch.
Who had that on the bingo card? Touchdown Lions!
As Brock Purdy and the 49ers look to make a statement and take down Detroit once again.
He's gone! Touchdown 49ers!
Lions 49ers. Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC.
It's Harry Lyles Jr., today's host of the College Game Day podcast. On the latest episode, Pete Thamel, Heather Dinich, and I talk about the 12-team playoff and the games we're looking forward to in the quarterfinal. Tune into College Game Day wherever you get your podcasts.
Which teams are making moves and which teams need to just flat out move? Your Saturday means I'm locked in and ready for First Take right here, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Marty Hausberger. The Rams are up 13-9 on Arizona. 2:01 to go in that game. Cardinals trying to keep L.A. from clinching a playoff spot. We're driving a bit, but L.A.'s Cameron Kinchins intercepts a Kyler Murray heave at the goal line. The Cardinals do have the ball back at their own 36. T. Higgins took over in overtime to lead Cincinnati to a wild 30-24 win over Denver. Higgins caught a 31-yard pass to set up the winning touchdown.
The Bengals trying to win it from the 3-yard line of Denver. Burrow looking to throw. His pass, it is caught by T. Higgins. Touchdown!
It's over.
Bengals! And the final playoff spot in the AFC will not be decided until the final week of the regular season.
ESPN 1530. Higgins hauled in 11 balls for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. Since he still needs a lot to happen next week to get in, the Broncos win against a Chiefs team that will probably rest its stars, and they take that last spot. The Chargers pummeled New England 40-7 to secure a postseason spot after sitting last year. Colorado may have the Heisman Trophy winner and expected top NFL draft picks, but BYU took it to the Buffaloes and their stars in the Valero Alamo Bowl tonight.
3rd and 3. They hand it off to Moa right up the gut for a touchdown. Almost untouched. A 13-yard score. And BYU is up 26-0.
George Sedano on ESPN Radio. Cougars win 36-14.
Hey, what's up? Aaron Goldhammer coming up Monday on Unsportsmanlike. We are getting closer and closer to the NFL playoffs, but we're going to tell you which contenders we believe in the least. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
This is Game Night on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app.
Chargers knock off the Patriots 40-7. They are in the playoffs. Touchdown, Chargers! Ladd McConkey fly that plane back to the sideline.
Yeah, it's a testament to all the hard work that we put in this offseason. And, the way things have gone, it's been an honor to play alongside this team.
And when they got to have it, they go out and play like they did. It's just a tremendous testament to who they are. I love these guys.
Just one playoff spot remains in the AFC thanks to a Chargers dominating victory today. It is Game Night, ESPN Radio, ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Gabe Neitzel along with Harrison Sanford, and you can be a part of Game Night Nation. Dr. Pepper call in line. Call us 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. ESPN Nation presented by Dr. Pepper. It's not college football season without the delicious taste of high school Dr. Pepper college football. It's a pepper thing. That audio that we just heard, courtesy of 98.7 Los Angeles. More on that in just a moment because the Rams are trying to hold on right now against the Cardinals. 13-9 they lead as we approach a minute to go, but the Cardinals on the move just outside the red zone. And Harrison, I know you're paying attention to this one because of fantasy football playoffs.
I know there's some people out there that were waiting on the injury report for James Conner. He went into the game questionable. He got the green light to go. There's belief he would have got the full workload because Trey Benson, the backup running back, was ruled out, and James Conner didn't finish the first quarter. It's been a brutal watch for fantasy football players that way, that's for sure. But as a football fan, hey, you want some drama, man, and that's what we're getting here. You know the Rams, they're close to clinching the NFC West. They still need to win this game and need to win next week against the Seahawks, but they need to get this one. We love some drama, and that's what Saturday NFL gave us.
Yeah, it certainly did. And the first game that kicked off, even though it was a domination from the Los Angeles Chargers, they clinch a playoff berth, Harrison, and they're now 10-6 on the season. It's just the second time in the career of that we've seen for Justin Herbert that he's going to be in the postseason. Had a tremendous game today, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns to lead them to that 42-7 victory over the New England Patriots. The job that has been done by Jim Harbaugh this year, he's not. I don't think he's going to ultimately win Coach of the Year, but this just continues. This guy, wherever he goes, he's going to win. He's going to have success. And I thought it was going to take them probably a year before they got to this point. They had to lose a lot. They lost basically their entire receiving room. They lost their best offensive weapon other than Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler. Had to say goodbye to some defensive pieces as well. Doesn't matter for Jim Harbaugh. He comes in, double-digit wins. They're going to the postseason.
And they look great. And the thing about the Chargers right now, they're getting better week to week. They got J.K. Dobbins back this week, and that was definitely help against the New England Patriots today, as he was part of the charge that led them. He had 76 yards his first game back coming off of the IR. But what I really like in my concern going into this season for the Chargers, as I initially started to watch them, the passing volume was so low for Justin Herbert. And I said, hey, guys, this is a at least a top 10 quarterback in the league. We're so used to him airing it out. And then because they were relying on J.K. Dobbins and that running game and ball control, time of possession type of style, I was worried if they would find the passing volume to really outscore teams when they needed to. Well, hello, Ladd McConkey, and hello, Justin Herbert, because over the past 2 weeks, Herbert's had over 280 passing yards. Ladd McConkey has looked like one of the best rookies in the NFL, one of the best players in the slot in terms of wide receiver position. This team, it has some duality to it now, and obviously with Jim Harbaugh as head coach, has a modicum of discipline that you'll need as well. I'm very impressed by what I've seen from them, and I'll tell you this, Gabe, they can go into any stadium. They can go into any stadium and win a playoff game. I would not be surprised. In my opinion, Herbert is that good, and they've opened up this offense to have some duality now. They're scary.
Speaking of Justin Herbert, he was talking about that team's playoff berth after the game at his press conference.
Yeah, it's a testament to all the hard work that we put in this offseason, and the way things have gone, it's been an honor to play alongside this team, and we had a huge opportunity tonight, and we went out and took it.
And that's exactly what they did. And I'm with you. I think that they could give a team trouble. Now, the problem with the AFC is you have the Bills and the Ravens occupying that likely the 2 and 3 spot. There is a chance that Baltimore falls out of that 3 spot, and Pittsburgh, if they lose, Pittsburgh wins. They could flop and end up Pittsburgh being champions of that AFC North. But if you're a team in the AFC, you want to get to that 5 seed, and that's still in the cards for the Chargers, because going on the road to the Houston Texans, I think the Chargers would relish a potential opportunity going on the road and walking away with a playoff victory. And for Herbert, making good after having that huge postseason lead a couple of seasons ago before they threw that away against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Don't remind him about that one. That was a brutal loss for the Chargers. But with that being said, I think
that ain't happening. Hey, that ain't happening with Jim Harbaugh, head coach. I'll tell you that right now.
No way, because he makes his team run the ball. They have one of the best ball control offenses in the NFL, and I think that's the key to why they've been so successful. Now, their defensive numbers were impressive to start the season, and then we've kind of seen them tail off a bit, giving up 27 points to the Denver Broncos a couple of weeks ago. But for the most part this season, they've been solid there. And even when you mentioned the Buffalo Bills, when you mentioned the Baltimore Ravens, I'm looking at this team and I say, against the Buffalo Bills with J.K. Dobbins, they can run the ball. Against the Baltimore Ravens with Herbert, they can throw the ball. We know those are two weaknesses of those two teams. There is no perfect team in this NFL. There is always a leak, and I think Justin Herbert and company can expose the leak. They have a chance, that's for sure.
Quick update on that Rams-Cardinals game. There appeared to be an interception by the Rams. However, it is, which would seal the game, by the way, but it is under further review. We'll continue to update you on that.
Just finish the game.
You just don't want to see any more potential Marvin Harrison Jr. catching any more passes against your fantasy team. But another receiver who had a great game today, a rookie wide receiver, Ladd McConkey, now over 1,000 yards receiving, 1,054 yards. That is the most by a Chargers rookie in franchise history. He joins Keenan Allen, who had 1,046 back in 2013, and the great John Jefferson, who had 1,001 yards back in 1978, as the only Chargers players to eclipse 1,000 receiving yards in their rookie season. And his head coach, Jim Harbaugh, had some good things to say about his rookie wide receiver after the game.
He's been an incredible teammate. I mean, he's been humble and hungry, from day one. He's a mighty man. He's a football player. Great to see him. There's been a lot of great receivers, in Chargers history to set the rookie receiving record. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, and he's been a big part of their success, as you mentioned, as they try to, be one of these teams that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Again, tough to do in the AFC because I think there is a line of demarcation after the Bills, after the Ravens. But, again, you have a quarterback like that, a head coach like that. You are not to be taken lightly, even if you are going on the road.
You got a quarterback, you have a chance. That's what the NFL is about. And Justin Herbert, in my opinion, is one of those guys. We also have to remember that Will Dissly, their tight end, was able to come back after missing the past 2 games as well. So they're getting a target back in him. And if they can just hold, I know Ladd McConkey is great, but if there are other guys can just hold on to the ball, this offense can be even more dynamic. Heard it during the broadcast today. They are one of the worst teams in terms of drops in the NFL. Over 25 drops so far this season. They hold on to the ball. They're able to run the ball. With that defense making plays with Bosa and Derwin James, anybody is liable to take a loss to them. They're that good in my opinion.
The interception has been upheld in the Rams-Cardinals game. The only issue is the intercepting player slid out of the end zone and into the field of play. So the ball is down at the 1-yard line, and the Rams are trying to quarterback sneak their way into having a little bit of space and forcing the Cardinals to use their final timeouts and avoid any sort of situation where there's a safety, and then they got to kick it back to the Cardinals. So it seems to be over, Harrison, but it's not quite all over in that game against the Rams as they try to pick up their 10th win of the season. An ugly game, but it would be a good win for the Rams to get to 10-6.
Shout out to the Arizona Cardinals because they got eliminated from the playoffs last week in an inexcusable loss in Carolina, but they came to fight today under Jonathan Gannon. James Conner, despite the injury, tried to make it out there. Good fight from them. This game should be over, but as you pointed out with the Rams, the job, in the words of Kobe Bryant, job not done. They still got to hit the Seahawks next week. Seahawks, who are very disappointing in their 6-3 win over the Bears on Thursday. I don't even want to get. We don't need to. Don't get me. Don't get me started.
No, we don't need to talk about that. They don't want us talking about that. The NFL doesn't want us talking about that. I think everybody's just best served if we forget what happened on Thursday night this week. ESPN.
It was from Christmas Day to Thursday Night Football. There were some duds, and then the NFL said, "All right, guys, we got you. We got you covered today."
Well, yeah, we got a great game in overtime earlier. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? They're yours, and Progressive protects them both. Bundle and save today at Progressive.com. Does the Bengals playoff push put Joe Burrow in the MVP race, especially after another great performance from him and a thrilling victory? We discuss. It's Game Night on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
This week on Football Sunday on ESPN Radio.
Looking for Allen. He's got it. Touchdown, Bills.
Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets.
Rodgers toward the goal line. Caught. Touchdown.
Head-to-head in Orchard Park. The Jets at the Bills. Coverage begins tomorrow at noon Eastern on select ESPN radio stations.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-294 0222. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-294-0222. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-294-0222. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for in partnership with Cars R Us and Find the Children.
Hey guys, Kevin Clark from This Is Football Podcast, Momar Productions. This week, Dan Orlovsky joins me to break down all of the Week 16 action and looking ahead to Week 17. That's This Is Football, wherever you get your podcast.
Which teams are making moves and which teams need to just flat out move? Your Saturday means I'm locked in and ready for First Take right here, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
You could just watch ESPN, but why not tap in? Tap into all your sports in one spot with the ESPN app. Tap into articles, analysis, and content with ESPN Plus. Tap into who's who and who should be in your lineup with ESPN Fantasy.
What a monster week we saw.
Tap into every, all the, and never miss the
breaking news.
Because once you tap in, you're tapped in. ESPN.
Bam!
Amber and Ian.
Dan Lanning, head coach of the Ducks, here with us on ESPN Radio. Oregon is undefeated. They're number one, yet they get the winner of Ohio State, Tennessee. People are saying that that's a flaw in this system. How do you feel?
What an opportunity, man. We get a chance to go play some of the best teams in the nation, and it's not supposed to be easy to get to a national championship, but that's the furthest thing from my mind right now. Like, I'm focused on what's next for us.
Amber and Ian, weeknights at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Touchdown! The electricity, the atmosphere.
At the 5, and into the end zone! This is why you do what you do.
Bowl season continues Monday with a Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. Coverage begins at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN.
It's the beauty of college football.
The Cincinnati Bengals are still alive. Burrow looking to throw. His pass, it is caught by T. Higgins. Touchdown!
It's over.
Bengals!
I don't know that anybody can stand on the field and watch Joe Burrow and say he's not the best player in the world, and then you can transfer that argument to Jamar Chase as well, and you can argue those two to death.
We know we can hang with anybody. We've proven that this year. We've played every single team close.
Audio courtesy ESPN 1530. Bengals win an overtime thriller. I'm Gabe Neitzel along with Harrison Sanford on Game Night, ESPN Radio, and the ESPN app. Before we get to the Bengals, it has gone final in Los Angeles. The Rams hold on to defeat the Cardinals. 13-9 is the final there. Rams now have double-digit wins on the season as they sit at 10-6. But the Bengals are the story of the day, Harrison, because they were 4-8 and left for dead. And look, chances are they still need to have four things, I guess, if you include the win, that they still need to get in their regular season finale. They still need another Broncos loss and then a loss tomorrow or next week by both the Dolphins and the Colts. So still a lot of things have to go the Bengals' way. But Joe Burrow, you just heard it there from Zach Taylor. I mean, he has been playing phenomenal football. 7th career game with 400 pass yards, ties Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Dan Marino for the most such games through a player's first 5 seasons in NFL history. Burrow's been phenomenal. Does he deserve to be in the MVP conversation with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen?
He deserves to be in the conversation. By sheer number of the stats, 39 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions, over 4,000 passing yards, leading the NFL, 4,229. For sure, he deserves to be in the conversation. But no way, no how could he actually be the MVP. It would be a disservice to the most valuable player award for anybody to get it who isn't on a playoff team. Point blank, period. I know. I could almost agree with Zach Taylor. He very well might be the best quarterback in the NFL. Unfortunately for him, the team didn't play well in the beginning of the season. The defense has been a shell of what we used to know it over the previous seasons. If you compare it to what we've seen so far this year, you're not in the playoffs. You're disqualified from winning. You're not disqualified from the conversation, but you're disqualified from winning. And another thing that was brought up by Zach Taylor, he mentioned that Jamar Chase might be the best football player in the world. Well, excuse me, if you have the best wide receiver in the world, right? I'm sure that helps you look as good as you are, even if you go to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has Derrick Henry, who many could argue is the best running back in the NFL, if not number one, no worse than number two, right behind Saquon Barkley. That's why I look at Josh Allen. I thought it from the beginning of the season, and I'm planting my flag every week by week. Josh Allen does not have the quality of talent that those three aforementioned players have. Josh Allen puts on the Superman cape every single week. He's throwing, he's running, he's doing it all. They clinch the division. They'll probably have the number 2 seed, and they beat the Chiefs. It's Josh Allen, and for me, there's no real discussion to have. I think people just try to keep the conversation fresh.
I mean, Lamar's having an unbelievable year. For a two-time MVP to have his best passing season of his career certainly deserves to be in the conversation. But I can't even look if Joe Burrow if you want to put Joe Burrow in the MVP conversation, fine. But don't. I can't do if they make the playoffs, maybe he should win it. I can't do that because guess what? Like Joe Burrow's a really good player, whether or not the Colts lose a game down the stretch, right? Like that's where you got to put him in there if they make the playoffs. That's where it gets lost on me because Joe Burrow is really good, whether or not the Dolphins lose tomorrow, and then the Colts lose next week, and then the Denver Broncos lose next week as well. Like, so many things still have to fall in line. It's all out of his hands. All he can, and let's be honest, a lot of it's been out of his hands this year anyway because he's put up unbelievable numbers. He's got the most touchdown passes in the NFL, and his defense has let him down this year. There's no way around that. They've lost every shootout they've been in because their defense can't stop a nosebleed right now. And look, Joe Burrow's really good, but I don't subscribe to this. Well, if they make the playoffs, I think he's got an interesting case because no, man, like if this was a win and in situation for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati next week, I could maybe see it. But because so many things still have to fall their way, like Joe Burrow's this good, regardless of all the extenuating circumstances around Cincinnati.
And I would say this, too. The sheer fact that they're even in this position, I can't give him the MVP because of that. Now, yes, his defense has failed him, but I go back to earlier in the season. Remember, back at Paycor Stadium, the stadium that the naming rights of the stadium were made so Joe Burrow can get that contract. Back at Paycor Stadium, they were taking on the Baltimore Ravens. When they were taking on the Baltimore Ravens, they went to overtime. I remember it was they had to settle for a field goal because they weren't confident in getting a 1-yard field. They weren't confident in getting 1 yard. Evan McPherson misses the field goal. Bengals go out and win. There's been some times during this season, yes, Joe Burrow's been great, but there are some wins that have been left on the table. And that one sticks out in my mind, obviously, because it was against the Baltimore Ravens. He's been great, but again, if you're in this predicament, the one you're in now, where we're seeing the Broncos in the playoffs, where we're seeing the Chargers in the playoffs, where we're seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoffs, and the Bengals are scrapping to get in, need help to get in, nah, I'm sorry, can't do it. I can admit Joe Burrow might be the best quarterback in the league, or one of the best, for sure, undoubtedly, and he could be in the conversation, but he absolutely cannot win the MVP award. No way.
And look, I mean, it's when they've stepped up to tougher competition, they just haven't been able to come through, and almost didn't come through today. This is the first playoff team that they've beaten, or potential. I guess I can't say a playoff team because the Broncos aren't in officially, but they are holding that. They're occupying that number 7 spot. They are a team that is a playoff caliber team, and it's the only playoff caliber team that they've beaten this year. I mean, and the road to this this 4-game winning streak, they've beaten the Cowboys, Titans, Browns, and now the Broncos. I mean,
So what are
3
we
teams
saying?
that have
So
been
what are we
eliminated
saying?
for a long time. I'm saying that I don't think it's a guarantee they beat the Steelers on the road next week. They just lost 44-38. That's a team we just watched struggle to score points with Russell Wilson, and going to the point where after they played on Christmas, well, I mean, okay, what's going on with the Steelers? What's going on? No, last time they played, they gave them 44 points. The Steelers put up 44 on Cincinnati in Cincinnati. So with this whole Bengal thing, it's been entertaining. And if they get in, like, that's a team, Buffalo is
Nobody
hoping,
wants them.
sitting there in the number 2, they don't have to see Joe Burrow come to Orchard Park in a couple of weeks to kick off the postseason. They'd much rather see Denver or Miami or Indianapolis. But at the same time, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the first leg of the 4 things that they need to happens next week, because this defense just is going to give up a bunch of points.
It's a shame. It's a shame when I look at this Bengals thing, because at the end of the day, I don't think they make it. I think the Chiefs are going to lay down. The Broncos will probably still end up getting in as they take on the Chiefs next week. But I will say this. I thought this was the season for the Bengals to capitalize. Remember, last year they had a bad record, so the way the NFL adjusts the schedules, if you're one of the lower seeds in the division, you get a easier schedule. I thought that was going to be a factor. And then you look at the fact that Jamar Chase is out for money, T. Higgins is out for money. I thought this was going to be their best chance potentially in this shortened Joe Burrow window to get into the playoffs, maybe get to AFC Championship, maybe get back to the Super Bowl. But it does not look like it's going to happen, unfortunately. The defense is part of the reason. The slow start to the season is part of the reason. And it's all unfortunate because I don't know if they're even able to bring back T. Higgins next year. Yeah. And they better be ready to pay Jamar Chase. That's for sure.
I think I look at the Bengals the same way I look at Alabama missing out on the college football playoff. Like, yeah, you're really good. You probably would have scared some people, but don't lose 24-3. Like, you can't open up the season with a loss to the New England Patriots. You are one of the 3 wins that the Patriots have had all season long. Like, you just can't do that. You can't do it. And so if you would have won that game, your chances of making the postseason a whole heck of a lot higher. So I don't feel sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for Zach Taylor or Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase, because you scored 10 points in that game. You scored 10 points against a Patriots team that we know is not any good. We're going to continue to talk about the Bengals with Ben Baby, ESPN NFL Nation Bengals reporter next. It's Game Night on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Canty from Unsportsmanlike, and I just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday season. And Happy New Year. And reminder, tune in to Unsportsmanlike every weekday morning, starting at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
Which teams are making moves and which teams need to just flat out move? Your Saturday means I'm locked in and ready for First Take right here, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
I'm a Florida State fan.
Oh, my goodness.
I listen to you, Stuart, just about
I thought you were a Bama fan. Oh, my goodness.
Paul Feinbaum. Weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and the SEC Network.
Central Division rivals clash on ESPN Hockey Night. Dallas.
Definitely a playoff team. There's no question about it.
And its stars.
Duchesne scores! Odger kept it out! Jason Robertson!
Travel to the Windy City to face Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks.
He's the heartbeat of this team.
Bedard with a shot! and he scores.
That's hockey. ESPN Hockey Night presented by Expedia. Stars Blackhawks at 8:30 Eastern, Sunday on ESPN.
It's bowl season on ESPN Radio. 25 bowl games, including the college football playoff and national championship game.
Touchdown! The electricity, the atmosphere.
At the 5 and into the end zone. This is why you do what you do.
Bowl season continues Monday with the Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. Coverage begins at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN.
It's the beauty of college football.
You could just watch ESPN, but why not tap in? Tap into all your sports in one spot with the ESPN app. Tap into articles, analysis, and content with ESPN Plus. Tap into who's who and who should be in your lineup with ESPN Fantasy.
What a monster week we saw.
Tap into every, all the, and never miss the
breaking news.
Because once you tap in, you're tapped in. ESPN.
Bam!
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Marty Hausberger. Last game of the NFL on Saturday. The Rams got on the board first against the Cardinals.
3rd and goal from inside the 1. Ball on the right hash. Matthew Stafford under center. Gives to Kyron Williams. Trying to slide through the right side. Fighting through contact. And he's in. Kyron Williams, the battering Ram, punches it in.
7-10, ESPN LA. The Rams never trailed, getting field goals from there on out to secure a playoff berth with a 13-9 win over Arizona. The Cardinals had 2 chances at the end of the game to win it, but Kyler Murray was picked off both times at the goal line. Also in, LA's other team, the Chargers. The Bolts secure a postseason spot by embarrassing the Patriots 40-7. The Bengals overcame a late Broncos touchdown that forced overtime and a missed short field goal attempt in OT to beat Denver 30-24. The Bengals win it on a 3-yard toss from Joe Burrow to T. Higgins, who caught all of Joe Cool's 3 TDs. 8 players, 5 from East Carolina and 3 from North Carolina State, tossed for fighting in the waning minutes of the Military Bowl, won by the Pirates 26-21. At the Valero Alamo Bowl on ESPN Radio, BYU got it done on the ground, through the air, and on special teams.
Kingston, he's going to field it and run. He's at the 40, 45, right up the gut. Has a huge hole on the left side. He's in Colorado territory. He may go down the sidelines at the 10, 5, touchdown. Parker Kingston with
George Sedano on ESPN Radio. The Cougars thrash Colorado 36-14. Jalen Brunson puts in 55. The Knicks beat Washington in overtime.
Hey, what's up? Aaron Goldhammer here, and coming up Monday on Sportsmanlike, we're going to get you set for the quarterfinals of the college football playoff, which teams are going to be advancing and who is going home. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
The Cincinnati Bengals are still alive. Burrow looking to throw his pass. It is caught by T. Higgins.
I don't know that anybody can stand on the field and watch Joe Burrow and say he's not the best player in the world.
It's game night. ESPN Radio, ESPN app, SiriusXM channel 80. Gabe Neitzel, Harrison Stanford hanging out with you tonight. And as always, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. It was a wild game earlier tonight. The Bengals survive in overtime, 30-24 over the Broncos to keep their playoff hopes alive. And ESPN NFL Nation Bengals reporter Ben Baby joins us right now to help us break down the game, Ben. And when Cade York joinked that 33-yarder off the upright in overtime, did you think that the Bengals season was over?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought the Bengals season was over like 3 weeks ago, so anything surprising. And it's funny because guys, when they went to 4-8, I mean, they weren't technically eliminated, but everyone talked about this season being over. There wasn't any talk of, oh, yeah, we still a shot. I think they understood how tough the deck was stacked against them. And then sure enough, they've been able to go out and now win 4 straight games, pick up their first win over a team with a winning record. And to do it in this kind of manner, definitely unexpected. But the Bengals feel like they're still in the playoff chase, but they know they need a lot of help in Week 18.
Zach Taylor made some questionable decisions, in my opinion, Ben, when it came down to going for it on multiple fourth downs. And then towards the end of regulation, there's a situation where they could have ran out the clock and kicked the game-winning field goal. Instead, they scored the touchdown. What did Zach Taylor have to say about some of the time management concerns that a lot of people were having towards the game?
Yeah, I think that this year they've been aggressive on fourth downs. We've seen it be successful in various spots. And when you look at it, the fourth down in the fourth quarter that they went on ultimately was very crucial because getting 7 points in that situation ended up being a reason why that game went to overtime in the first place, and the Broncos didn't win it down the stretch. But in terms of what happened when Chase Brown got hurt at the 1 yard line, Chase said he was trying to slide there at the end, and that's when he sprained his ankle. And whenever that happened, Taylor told us in the post-game press conference that changed their plan. They were going to go down and try to kill the clock and then get the field goal at the end of regulation. But then when they had to burn a timeout, that kind of changed what they were going to do from there on out. So that injury kind of predicated that late-game situation. And then I asked them after the Cade York missed it, I said, was there any thought about, we're kicking the field goal again? And he kind of smiled and said, "We won, so I don't have to answer that question." So I think that made his decision there at the end.
Goodness.
Ben Baby, ESPN, NFL Nation, Bengals reporter joining us here on Game Night, ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, along with Harrison Sanford. I'm Gabe Neitzel. Is this the best football you've seen Joe Burrow play?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I actually kind of told him that on the side on Friday, and I said, watching him this year, you can definitely tell. I think some players. You'll see it. I think people talk about wanting to be great, and Joe, week in and week out, I think definitely this year you've seen him really pursue that and really be about that. And, for him to play through the wrist injury, which a lot of people did not know, even him, didn't know how he was going to look coming off that. No pitcher, no quarterback he could find coming back from that. Took some big hits tonight dealing with the knee issue. He hung in there and he made the conscious decision that, he was going to have to take some hits, hold on to the ball, but to try to get some extra time against a very good Denver front. I believe he was sacked, I want to say, around 6 or 7 times tonight. But he did what they needed to do, and guys in the locker room feel like he's played at an MVP caliber. And when you look at his numbers, quite frankly, I thought earlier in his career he probably did not. I think the height probably was a little over what he produced on the field. This year, there's no question about it. 3rd in QBR going into this game. 1st in touchdowns thrown, 1st in passing yards in the league. And tonight, he's one of the main reasons why the Bengals were able to keep those playoff hopes alive.
There is some chatter about Joe Burrow being the MVP if the team makes it to the playoffs. But in order for that to happen, they would also need the Denver Broncos to lose next week against the Kansas City Chiefs. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be bringing their full starters for that matchup. Was there any chatter about the Chiefs and what their plans might be going forward, and maybe any egging on of their rivals to do the job and give them a chance?
Yeah, no, there was no talk about that. And it's not just them. They need Miami to lose at least once and Indianapolis to lose once. And I think that knowing all of that is why a few weeks ago, nobody's really talking about it. But then over the last couple of weeks, I've heard more players coming and talking to me about it. And, coming into this game, I said on SportsCenter this morning, Andre Yosavash told me that everybody knows kind of what's at stake going into this one. But on top of playing for the playoffs, they're playing for pride as well. And now, with that shot going into Week 18, I think, if everyone's being honest in that locker room, I didn't think they thought this would be possible to close the season out.
Talking with Ben Baby, ESPN NFL Nation Bengals reporter, as the Bengals keep their playoff hopes alive in overtime earlier tonight. 30-24 over the Denver Broncos. It's Game Night on ESPN Radio. Gabe Neitzel, Harrison Sanford with you tonight. T. Higgins had an unbelievable game. 11 catches, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. Are they going to do whatever it takes to make sure he is still a member of this team next year? Or do they decide that money's better well spent over on the defensive side of the football?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, a few weeks ago when the Bengals beat the Cowboys, Joe Burrow said he's really confident they're going to do what it takes to get T back. And I asked him out at his locker after the game, after his press conference, he was very confident privately as well. And then tonight was interesting. Burrow, when I asked him, could you envision this offense without T, he said, we've had games out there where T hasn't been there. And then T at his locker after the game said that he knows that this could have been his last game in Cincinnati. He said he hopes not. He hopes that they can find a way to make it work. but he kind of has made the math, knowing and knows what's at stake for him moving forward. And tonight, he showed why he could be a number one receiver somewhere else and have the kind of performance that you need in a massive situation. So I think everybody knows the realism of, this could have been his last game as a Bengal in Cincinnati. But I think they're going to try to see what might work, and knowing not only do you have to fix the defense, but also a guy by the name of Jamar Chase is going to want to get paid as well, and he might win the Triple Crown, and that will not be a cheap contract either.
Ben, if you look at what has happened this year so far for the Bengals, more than likely they still missed the playoffs regardless of how well they played offensively. I wonder, and maybe you have some intel here, do you think Zach Taylor will survive if this team does not make the playoffs, considering how poor the team has started the year yet again?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything so far that would indicate that. I know that there's been some grumblings from fans and whatnot, but you see kind of how they've played over the course of this backstretch of the year. I think, it's impressive that they haven't folded yet. At 4-8, it could have been easy for them to pack it in. Said they won 4 straight games, one tonight against a very good Denver defense. I imagine there will be, some pressure if they don't make the playoffs this year about especially those slow starts, which have been a characteristic of his teams for the last 6 years. I think there's going to be questions about Lou Anarumo's future moving forward, given how the defense played this year. But, Joe has had a lot of support of Lou, a guy that he's known for a long time, a friend of the family for the Burrows and his dad, Jimmy. So, we'll see what happens. I think that, asking about Taylor's future, that might be a little premature. But, I think that if the Bengals don't make the playoffs, there are going to be some conversations about how this staff is built moving forward. And definitely it will be all eyes on Taylor in 25 to see if they can fix some of the issues that kept them out of the playoffs this year.
Ben, we appreciate the time, appreciate the insights of the Bengals as they pull off the win in overtime tonight.
Yep, thank you all.
Ben Baby, ESPN NFL Nation Bengals reporter, joining us here on Gabe Night, along with Harrison Sanford. I'm Gabe Neitzel, and I'm not going to lie, Harrison, watching that game, I thought when Cade York doinked that ball off the upright, I thought that was it, because all the Broncos needed was a tie. A tie got them into the postseason. As long as they didn't lose tonight, that would have secured a postseason berth for them. Instead, they give it up on a 3-and-out, and ultimately the Bengals go down, score a touchdown for that 30-24 final.
It was incredible to see the Bengals come back after all those missteps that they had. When that Marvin Mims reception happened in the end zone, I thought, oh, my goodness, I can't believe it. I can't believe that this is actually going to happen. But kudos to the Bengals. It wasn't just like they got the ball to start overtime and they scored on the first drive. They had to get some defensive stops as well. So kudos to them. They stayed alive for another week. I think it's all about signed, sealed, and delivered next week. Even if they do end up getting a win over the Steelers, but hey, they did make it entertaining. They have gone out. They did go out swinging. They have gone out swinging.
Meanwhile, the final game on the NFL slate today, the Rams. They're taking a little baby step closer to winning that NFC West title. We go over them coming up next. It's Game Night, ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Georgia versus Notre Dame.
There's a different feel to the playoff.
Boise State versus Penn State.
There's an intensity that gets ratcheted up.
Oregon versus Ohio State.
The stakes get much higher.
Arizona State versus Texas.
The magic continues.
The College Football Playoff Quarterfinals. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. The College Football Playoff has arrived. Georgia versus Notre Dame.
There's a different feel to the playoff.
Boise State versus Penn State.
The stakes get much higher.
Oregon versus Ohio State.
There's intensity that gets ratcheted up.
Arizona State versus Texas.
The magic continues.
Wow! The College Football Playoff Quarterfinals.
You can feel the electricity.
New Year's Eve and New Year's Day on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
The last Monday Night Football of 2024 is upon us. Jared Goff and the Lions are out for redemption as they head to San Francisco for an NFC Championship rematch.
Who had that on the bingo card? Touchdown Lions!
As Brock Purdy and the 49ers look to make a statement and take down Detroit once again.
He's gone! Touchdown 49ers!
Lions 49ers. Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and ABC.
Which teams are making moves and which teams need to just flat out move. Your Saturday means I'm locked in and ready for First Take right here, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
You could just watch ESPN, but why not tap in? Tap into all your sports in one spot with the ESPN app. Tap into articles, analysis, and content with ESPN Plus. Tap into who's who and who should be in your lineup with ESPN Fantasy.
What a monster week we saw.
Tap into every, all the, and never miss the
breaking news.
Because once you tap in, you're tapped in. ESPN.
Bam!
On the latest episode of Numbers on the Board, we talked about the Sacramento Kings firing Mike Brown and what that could mean for the organization. And lastly, we gave our dream playoff scenarios. Who matches up against who? Will it go 7? Find out that and more wherever you get your podcasts.
Central Division rivals clash on ESPN Hockey Night. Dallas.
Definitely a playoff team. There's no question about it.
And its stars.
Duchesne scores! Ottinger kept it out! Jason Robertson!
Travel to the Windy City to face Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks.
He's the heartbeat of this team.
Bedard with a shot, he scores!
That's hockey. ESPN Hockey Night presented by Expedia. Stars Blackhawks at 8:30 Eastern, Sunday on ESPN.
This is Freddie and Harry.
Jeff in Cleveland.
Man, y'all guys, man, I swear, man, it is amazing, man, how much y'all guys love and much joy y'all bring to people. Hey, Harry Douglas, you's a maniac. You said a PP man. Harry, you a fool, man. You said a PP man. Stand up. Man, y'all guys, man, I swear, y'all the best in the world.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
He puts a knee down. He's got it. The Rams win. 13-9. They defeat the Arizona Cardinals on the back of consecutive interceptions at or in the end zone. The first by Cam Kitchens, the second by Ahkello Witherspoon. The Los Angeles Rams have won 5 in a row for the first time since their Super Bowl season of 2021.
Like on 710 ESPN LA. It's Game Night, ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. I'm Gabe Neitzel along with Harrison Sanford. ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive offers a great price and round-the-clock protection when bundling home and auto. It's one of those rare times where you could save money and get something great. Bundled today at Progressive.com. There is still a chance that the Rams could wrap up the NFC West and their playoff berth, Harrison, by the end of this week. So after the win, and by the way, if you want all of this information, ESPN.com, the place to go, up to date on all the clinching scenarios and the possibilities of teams making the playoffs, and they have it right now with the Rams as a 99.9% chance to make the postseason. Rams need 3+ wins from the following teams to clinch the NFC West, because this would be the strength of victory tiebreaker. Vikings, Bills, Niners, Commanders, Browns. If 3 of those 5 teams win, the remainder of the games coming up tomorrow, Harrison, they would end up winning the NFC West, and next week's game would be completely irrelevant between the Rams and Seahawks. Had the Rams lost, it would have been a winner-take-all scenario next week for the NFC West, but instead, the Rams very much now in control of that division at 10-6.
And they're a scary team if they make it to the postseason. I'll tell you that. You know, it's interesting. If you go all the way back to week number 8, it was at that point there was some murmurs around what the Rams might be doing going forward. Were they going to trade Cooper Kupp? Was this going to be the last season for Sean McVay? What happened during that Thursday night football that week? They beat the Minnesota Vikings 30-20, and that was a game when Puka Nacua made his return back to the team. And ever since then, this team has been different. It feels as if this offense now has some more weapons to it. Kyren Williams has been solid as a rock all season long. But now you bring back Puka Nacua. It feels as if this defense continues to get better week over week. Jared First on that defensive line has been a force for them. I think this team, not just this team, but almost any team in the NFC is a liable threat to win multiple playoff games. The way this Rams team, they can expose the Minnesota Vikings secondary, just like they can expose the Detroit Lions secondary. They're a live threat to win any in many situations in this NFC playoffs. Matthew Stafford, I would not deny him. Sean McVay, you better not mess around with him either. It's going to be a fun situation for them. They just have to they still obviously should finish the job next week against the Seahawks to really feel as if they're going to be on the right path.
It's a situation where I'm with you. The NFC feels a lot deeper than the AFC does to me. And a lot of that has to do with how beat up the Lions are on defense and the number of injuries they had. If they were half as healthy, I guess, if half the names that are on the IR right now were back, and I'm not even including Aiden Hutchinson, who's been out for so much of the season, I feel like it would be a different feeling with the Lions. We just don't quite know what that defense is going to look like with all the different injuries they had. Yes, they looked good against the Chicago Bears last time out, but I mean, who hasn't looked good against the Chicago Bears? On defense. Well, defensively, they look fine. They were fine defensively.
Yes.
But I think everybody's still trying to figure out what the Lions are going to look like. Certainly, the Eagles, to me, are the most complete team in the NFC. They've got a pretty good defense, a lot of weapons on that offense. But as we saw last week against the Commanders, there are certain things that you can also do to take advantage of them.
There's no perfect team in the NFL. I think that's what's going to make this postseason so good. And I think this is where coaching is really going to come into a factor and just straight up execution. Because I could look at every single team in the NFC and I could tell you how they can be beat. It's just a matter of if that team can execute that game plan that's going to allow them to be successful. Like, for example, we talked about the Rams. And you go back to their win earlier this season against the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, bottom 5 in terms of passing yards allowed. What happens if Matthew Stafford goes into Minnesota and gets a 10-point lead in the first half? Does that take the Minnesota Vikings out of the game script? Same thing now with the Detroit Lions. They are so reliant on the blitz. Aaron Glenn, top 5 blitz percentage ever since Aiden Hutchinson has gone to the IR and been done for the rest of the regular season. What happens if you go against a Jordan Love? Or any other quarterback that could potentially break down that blitz and take advantage of that with the dink and dunk game with the screens to the running back. Any team is liable to get beat. I'm super excited for the playoffs. It's going to be a fun one.
Here's the problem with what you just said, Harrison.
Hit me.
I mean, it's just you make it seem like now the Chiefs. I know you didn't say this, but when I hear you say, "Man, it's wide open. It's going to come down to coaching, and it's going to," that just means the Chiefs are winning the whole thing again, right? That just means the Chiefs are winning the whole thing. If it's that wide open and it comes down to who's your coach and who's your quarterback, well, guess what? The Chiefs are in. And by the way, I think the Chiefs are in a great spot anyway, having the bye in the AFC, and they're going to be number 1. They're not going to have to go through the Ravens and Bills. They're going to have to go through the Ravens or the Bills, who will have to go to Kansas City. Which again, I look at those 3 teams at the top of the AFC, and I would take those 3 over the field. I don't know if there are a combination of 3 teams I would take over the field in the NFC because there are some good teams, but they do have the flaws. Like you pointed out, with Minnesota, who knows what Sam Darnold's like in the postseason? He's never played in a playoff game. Who knows? The Packers are beat up pretty, on defense, and their cornerbacks can certainly give up a number of yards. You mentioned the Lions, how beat up they are. Like in the NFC, it just becomes a lot more interesting because also the quarterbacks in the NFC. When we're talking about the teams from the AFC. The 3 teams that have separated themselves, to me, are the 3 teams with the best quarterbacks. Joe Burrow's probably not making it, so the 3 best quarterbacks, or probably the 3 best quarterbacks in the league, are the ones who are going to fight it out in the AFC. To me, the quarterback play, and there's been some really good quarterback play in the NFC, it's just so much closer between Goff and what Sam Darnold has done, and Jalen Hurts, and Jordan Love, and then you've got a guy like Stafford who's been there, who's done that. It's just so wide open, and Daniels, who's never played in a playoff game, but he's so dangerous dangerous. He's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. I feel like the quarterback play is so much tighter in the NFC, which makes it that much more interesting when you start trying to figure out who's going to represent that conference in New Orleans in the middle of February.
I feel like the only quarterback that you wouldn't have confidence in winning a game probably is going to be Michael Penix. And we're not even sure if they're going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Because they could very well lose to the Commanders on Sunday Night Football, and Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers find their way back into that seat. And obviously Baker Mayfield has a modicum of history in the playoffs. So nothing is safe in the NFL, in that NFC. It's going to make it fascinating.
And if Baker gets in, like, Baker's as dangerous as any of them. Now, I don't think Baker's dangerous over the course of 3 games for the Buccaneers to reach a Super Bowl. But in one game, like, we've seen Baker be able to put together, again, the issue with Baker is, can he be consistent enough over a stretch to get you as far as you need to go? But if you just need one game, especially in the opening round, Baker can go off for 4 touchdowns, 300-plus yards, and absolutely light up any of those defenses. And that's if the Buccaneers were to make it over the Falcons, which I do think is a high probability, that just makes the NFC that much deeper.
What a shame, speaking of the Falcons, what a shame that Kirk Cousins, with the team on the brink of fighting for the playoffs, actually had to get sat for a rookie quarterback. Like, okay, I totally understand that it was time to go to Michael Penix, but what a sad state of affairs that with the playoffs on the line, the best course of action for Raheem Morris is to sit their veteran quarterback and give Michael Penix his first starts of his NFL career during the major stretch of the season to clinch a playoff spot. If that isn't an indictment on Kirk Cousins, I don't know what is. It's incredible to me.
Oh, yeah. The crazy part about that is if they make the playoffs, if the Falcons win their next 2 games, career start number 4 for Michael Penix Jr. is going to be starting in a home game, and not because of an injury. Right? Like we've seen other quarterbacks be forced into opportunities because of injuries. I think everybody thinks of Nick Foles. Granted, it wasn't a rookie, but Nick Foles wasn't expected to be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles when they won the Super Bowl handful of years ago. So we've seen that with injury. But Kirk Cousins isn't injured. Penix is just in there because they didn't have any better options.
Incredible.
And they had to go, get in there, kid. Hopefully it works out.
Hopefully you're better than the tenured veteran that we just paid big bank to in the offseason.
I know it's 1 game, but he was. I know you were playing the Giants, but it's not like you were playing a murderer's row during the 4-game losing streak, and even the game that Kirk Cousins won where he didn't play well. To me, that was certainly the right decision. We hear from the Rams after the win next. It's Game Night on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike, and I just wanted to wish everyone a happy and healthy holiday and a happy new year. And a reminder to tune into Unsportsmanlike every weekday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-687-5192. That's 800-687-5192. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-687-5192.
Which teams are making moves and which teams need to just flat out move? Your Saturday means I'm locked in and ready for First Take right here, Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN.
It's Larry from Shelby, previously on the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Jim is next for